Okay, so today I'm going to be making my vegan peach pie with a homemade, vegan, buttery, rich, delicious pie crust. First, we take our ingredients and add about 2 cups of flour to a large mixing bowl. Next, we'll add in about a tablespoon of sugar. Then we'll take our softened butter and slice it into cubes. We'll add in about a teaspoon of baking powder just to give the crust a little more fluff. Next, you want to toss around your dry mix so everything is combined. And then we're just going to take our butter cubes, add them right into the dry mix. And then we're going to add in a splash of water. I start with about 1/3 cup. And then start mashing that together. Don't turn your mixer on yet. And if you have a countertop mixer, you can use that as well. Then we start blending on low, the lowest speed possible. And turn it off and begin mashing by hand again. Next, we'll add in a splash of soy milk, about 1/4 cup to start. Blender back on. Blender off. Hand mash. Keep doing that process until all the ingredients have formed into a slightly pasty dough. Add more liquid if needed. And when you get to a nice chunky mixture, you can remove your blender and add a little more flour. And right in your bowl, you can add some flour to your hands and start kneading it by hand, right in the bowl. This really helps cut down on counter mess. If you want to do it on your countertop, you can do that as well. And then take your dough and form it into 2 separate balls. And if you want to add a little more liquid to some of the dry dough, you can, but be sure and add more flour as well so you don't get too sticky. Keep kneading by hand. You want to come away with a nice velvety, buttery ball of dough. Form that one into a ball as well. You should have 2 about equal balls right now. And then wrap one in foil or saran wrap and place it in the freezer so it can harden. And this ball you're going to press down into your pie dish. Lightly grease your pie dish if needed. Now we're doing this instead of rolling it out with a rolling pin. You can actually press out the dough with your fingertips right in the pie pan. Again, cutting down on a lot of mess. Now this process takes a few minutes. You have to do it carefully so you don't break the dough. Add more flour if needed as well. Remember, this takes practice, so the more crust you make, the better you'll get at it. Now that's ready. Punch a few holes in the bottom, and if you want to use pie weights or dry beans, you can. Otherwise, stick that crust in the oven for about 10 minutes at 350. And then I'm just going to use the exact same bowl from my pie crust for my peaches. So get about 3 to 4 large peaches and just start slicing. Make sure they're nice and washed and dried. You can slice into large chunks, skinny slices, really whatever you'd like. And you don't need to peel them ahead of time because those skins actually have a lot of fiber, nutrients, and when they bake, they actually soften a lot, so you don't even really notice them. So here's our peaches. Pour them right in the bowl. Next, add in about 1/4 to 1/2 cup of lemon juice. Then add in about 2 teaspoons of fresh real vanilla extract. Then about 1/4 to 1/2 cup of maple syrup. Remember, the more liquid you add in, the more watery your filling will be. So it depends on your taste. And then kind of combine that. Next, we're going to add in our spices. A few dashes of cinnamon, and then the optional cayenne, which adds a nice heat to these peaches. Fold that all together. Then add in about 1 tablespoon of cornstarch or arrowroot powder. Either one will work. Continue to fold. And keep tossing until all of that has mixed together and most of the cornstarch or arrowroot powder has no chunks left. Nice and thinned out. Then we'll add in about 1/2 cup or 1/4 cup of soy milk. Again, more liquid, the more liquidy your pie filling will be in the end. And then the last step, we're going to take about 1/4 cup of butter and dice it into cubes. And you'll see that in a second. Then we take our pie out of the oven. It's been cooking for about 10 minutes. You can see it's par baked. And just add your peaches right into that warm pie crust. Pat them down. Squeeze as many in as you can. As they cook, they'll soften and shrink up a bit. Pour in that liquid. And then take your cubes of butter. Yes, this is a lot of butter, but this is a buttery pie. You don't have to add in this extra butter if you don't want. And just place them on top. And lastly, we're going to do our lattice pie crust on top with our chilled dough that's been in the freezer for about 20 minutes. So just press it out on a floured surface. Make sure to flour it well so it doesn't stick as you press. And if you want to use a rolling pin, you can. Press it out, and then you're just going to cut rough strips with a butter knife. They don't have to be perfect, just enough to cover the pie. And then just lay them on top, press them on the sides to secure them, one on top of the other. You might need to slice a few to make sure they fit well. And then if you have any extra pieces, you can just press them along the edges for extra crust. And lastly, we're going to take some vegan sugar and put it on top. And that's it. Alright, so that's how I make my vegan peach pie. And be sure to check my website for more of my vegan recipes, healthyhappylife.com. And I tweet from @lunchboxbunch. See here, Snelly. You like the pie? Yeah. No. She will start eating it, I guarantee you that. So say bye. Bye-bye. I'm sorry, I pulled you from your nap.